Alright, here's part 4 of my tier list series, and today we're discussing Vote. The reason why I'm doing this is because you mainly want to focus on one element, but I want to go ahead and disclaimer myself because you may find characters higher or lower on this tier list depending on your situation. But at the end of the day, this is my opinion. So let's go ahead and talk about the current playstyle of Vote, which I'll be basing my rankings off of, but it has a very complex rotation due to the interaction between Fenrir and Rubilia. Because how you do the most damage in this team is by having Fenrir's A3 skill active while casting Rubilia's skill. But this can be difficult to accomplish due to their different skill cooldowns, to where some people use Claudia matrices so that way the timings aren't so tight. So let's go ahead and start this tier list off by talking about the standard characters, and the first one being Samir. And unfortunately I have to rate her as a D. She's similar to Huma, to where she is strong, but the other characters on this list are just better. One thing that does give her advantage over most free-to-play characters is her trait, which is one of the best traits to get once you're starting the game. But once Alice came out, almost all the traits started including increased final damage by 18%, completely outscaling Samir's trait. And to make things worse, if you're able to get Zeke on your account, you can already start getting this 18% final damage at the start of the game. So now let's go ahead and talk about our matrices, starting with our 2-piece. The only downside is that it has a stacking mechanic, but it does increase the damage by 20%, making these one of the best DPS matrices in the game. Whereas the 4-piece is only good for Samir, but I still have to rank these as an S. Bringing us to Crow, to where I'm going to have to rank him as an A, due to the fact that he is the best free-to-play option that you can pick. He can serve as a great main DPS, especially if you can get him to 1-star and you can hit your enemies in the back. And once you get him to 5-star, he can be a great support because he can increase your other weapons' crit chance and crit damage for a short time period. Which brings us to his matrices, to where his 2-piece can greatly increase your crit damage as long as the target's health is under 60%. But to really utilize these matrices, you need to have over 85% crit rate, making it to where matrices like Shiro or Scylla could be better if you don't have that much crit rate, with Lyra beating them all. So I'm going to have to rank these as a B. Which brings us to Nemesis, and I'm going to have to rank her as an A. Now, she is the first limited character to be added to the standard pool. She is also a healer that provides the Vote benediction resonance for the Vote team. Now, the main problem with Nemesis is that she's basically like Lyn, to where all of her stars greatly increases her power, and once she has 6-star, it doubles everything that her stars give. Due to this, most healers are better than Nemesis, but if you're doing hard content like a raid and your main DPS is a Vote user, you're going to want a healer that has Nemesis on their team. Which brings us to her matrices, where her 2-piece is not very bad, due to the fact that most Vote characters heal, to where the 4-piece is okay, but there's just better 4-pieces out there. So I'm gonna have to rate these matrices as a C. Which brings us to Tion, to where I'm gonna have to rate him as a B. Now, Tion can either be a main DPS or support, but he's very dependent on a healer due to the fact that he's constantly losing health. So you're either gonna need someone like Nemesis or Fenrir. As a main DPS, the other characters on this tier list are much stronger, but as a support, he is pretty good due to his skill, and if you can get a high-star Tion, he is a nice boost for the Vote team. Which brings us to his matrices, and his 2-piece is very powerful, which has a chance of being triggered every time Vote damage is dealt, and this damage can bounce between 7 targets, with the added benefit of increasing Vote damage. And his 4-piece is not bad either, to where it massively increases the Vote damage. So I'm going to have to rate these matrices as a B, bringing us to Fenrir, to where I'm going to have to rate her as an A. So Fenrir is a very strong main DPS. The only problem is that you need to get her to 1-star so that way you can fully use her kit. On top of that, she gets a big damage boost for herself and the team if you can get her to 3-star. I would have rated her an S if not for the fact that Mimi is coming very soon, and most likely, Mimi is taking her main DPS slot. Which brings us to her matrices, to where her 2-piece are very strong, to where it increases crit damage for everyone in the team since these are background matrices. To where her 4-piece is decent, to where it increases final damage, but you have matrices like Fiona, which are just better. So due to this fact, I'm going to have to rate these as an A. Bringing us to the newest Vote character, Rubilia, and I'm going to have to rate her a B, due to the fact that she is the queen of restraints. So how her skill works is that it mainly does damage based off the health of your thorns that you summon, and the best way to heal the thorns is by having a 5-star Rubilia. On top of that, this damage is greatly increased when you have a 3-star Fenrir field active. But as I mentioned earlier, this is hard to pull off due to the skill cooldowns of both Fenrir and Rubilia. Which brings us to her matrices, which are basically a requirement. Her 2-piece greatly increases your Vote attack, while her 4-piece increases your crystal limit, which increases your skill damage damage, as well as increasing the elemental damage of the whole team. So I have to rate these as an S. Bringing us to the support element altered, and the first one we need to talk about is Lyn, and I'm going to rate her as a B, due to the fact that her field does allow you to gain more dodges for the Vote team, which can be helpful for most teams, but you still really need to get her to 6-star to bring out her true power, which I don't recommend, but if you did want to do an altered team, you could consider getting one copy. Bringing us to her matrices, to where her 2-piece increases your attack, but it has a stacking mechanic, whereas her 4-piece increases your final damage, but Lyn has to be on the team and you have to be inside her field. Due to all these constraints, I have to rate these as a C. Bringing us to Fiona, and I have to rate her as an S. The main reason being is that she is essential for the current Vote team. One of the main issues that it struggles with is getting charge, so having Fiona's torrential force greatly helps with this, on top of being able to activate Wellspring if you have over 1.6 million HP, or Hydro Focus if not. And if you can get her to 3-star so that way she can execute, she's even better. But do note that there's a good chance she's going to be replaced once the new altered character comes out in the next 4 banners. But for my healers, she's not going anywhere due to all the buffs and supports that she does for her teammates, especially if you can get her to 3-star to where she's able to execute even easier as long as you're in Benediction mode. Which brings us to her matrices. Her 2-piece greatly increases your attack, while her 4-piece, you increase the final damage of all of your teammates. The only downside of these matrices are, once Fiona is kicked off the team, her 4-piece does not work. But for now, I have to rate these as an S. Bringing us to Zeke, and I'm going to rate him as an A, due to the fact that in the current Vote team, Zeke does not do much for it, because when he activates his skill, he increases the main slot's weapon damage by 30%, which is increased even more if he's 6-star, making it 50%. But in the current Vote team, the main damage output is a combination of 2 weapons consisting of Fenrir and Rubilia, making Zeke not the greatest option for the current Vote team. But if we take a look at Mimi, who's most likely going to replace Fenrir, things change greatly, to where Mimi will be the main DPS and Zeke will power her up even more. But when it comes to the matrices, these do not do anything for Vote, so do not get these. And I don't think this tier list would be complete if I didn't talk about Mimi, but do realize that these stats are on the test server and they may change once they hit live servers. So if we take a look at Mimi's 1-star, this allows Rubilia to do 1 dodge instead of 2 as long as she is at 5-star. And if we take a look at Mimi's 3-star, this reduces the skill cooldown of all Vote weapons by 20%. And if you do run a triple Vote team, you can use her Simulacrum trait, which allows you to increase the duration of the crit chance of both Fenrir's A6 and Crow's A5. And Mimi is really strong, so you can already see how she could probably affect some of the rankings of these characters and greatly affect how Vote is played. And once she's been out for a while, I'll go ahead and make an updated Vote tier list discussing how she changes the meta. But here you can see the ranking of all the characters and matrices that I mentioned. Hopefully this will help you decide on which characters to pick when it comes to Vote. And look forward to my Mimi showcase discussing what she can do. But do you agree with my Vote tier list? Let me know down in the comments. But other than that, I'll talk with you guys later.